There we go. It caught me unawares, that. A bit like dropping it in the deep end. No, just not a lot of sound there at all, Dave. I haven't got a lot to say actually, so I'm not going to be on that long, but good evening everybody. Nice to see some new faces as well, so that'll be interesting. Not a lot to show, except behind me I have my test. It's a little heatsink with a fan that I use for testing pallets. I didn't know whether somebody would be interested in how I'd done it. And the sliding screws will fit most pallets. They just bolt on top to test. But it's got a very high power fan with an enormous speed fan. I'll start it up and you'll hear how loud it is. It's louder than my microphone or my bass. How about that? It's like a siren, that. That's very good. But it's very, very efficient fan. It does keep it cool. And yeah, oh, and another thing, I had one of my amplifiers returned to me from Cornwall. The customer had blown it up, but what had blown it up was his power supply. His power supply had gone erratic and the voltage was bouncing around all over the place, and it was a power supply that adjusted from 0 to 50 volts and it was going the full whack. So it unfortunately destroyed the 3 power transistors and the biasing network, so I had to actually use my my hot plate to remove the transistors and put some more on for him. But got it all working, it's all gone. But it just goes to show what power supplies can do. You tend to think of power supplies as not causing any problems, but they can be colossal problems for all sorts of things. Anyway, I'm going to put it back round to Dave and see if he can come back on again yet. So round to you, Dave. G8GKQ from G7NTG on the net.
Yes, no? Right, let's turn that up a bit. Right, turn that up a bit. Somewhere around there, I reckon. Okay, I've been messing around with audio all day and I thought I had it sussed, but obviously not. So this is the microphone on the C920, so apologies for that. Thank you for stepping in, Jim. Gareth G4XAT will be next. So far I have then, although I haven't been watching the chat as much as I might do. Jim, thank you for taking it. Then it'll be Gareth G4XAT, Dave G4EEV, Peter GW7BZY, Benno PA3FBX, Mike G0MJW, John G8IKP, Martin G4FKK, and then Colin G4KLB. I'll put that list up when I finish playing with my audio. Things that are going on, don't forget it's the RSGB construction competition that closes on the 1st of March. Let's get those ATV entries in. Activity weekend, 12th, 13th of March, and around the same time we need all the contributions in for the next CQTV. And the other good news this week is GB3PV in Cambridge is back on the air. Details of frequencies and the like are on the wiki, but be good to see some activity through that repeater. So without further ado, round to Gareth. and I can type up the list and then try and sort my audio out for my next over. G4XAT to take it, G8GKQ and the BATC Net.
Right, welcome to Fan Central. I think we're good to go. Tested it earlier. Yes, we are. Right, evening all. Let's have a quick transition. Here we are. You can read the C920 logo now. I made the font a bit bigger and so on. For some reason I thought it would scale. And, well, it did, but so did the pixels. Anyway, that's legible at least. Okay, I have been busy with the tripod, or rather the tilt mechanism on the tripod. So I'll just take a stroll across the shack and give you a demo. There is no wobble in it now. It really is very, very solid. You can crank it up as fast as you want to crank, and down, very finely adjustable, and the release mechanism is a hand wheel underneath, like so. I'll take that off. I'm watching myself with a delay. Here we go. That drops off, and the whole shebang lifts off there. Now what we have here is a humongous great 85mm diameter taper roller bearing that basically does the business. What else can we see? The height adjust. The one at the bottom of the picture is a captive pair of nuts locked to each other, and the one at the top is also captive but fixed, so as you turn the hand wheel the whole lot adjusts. The brake mechanism, get this round the right way, I'm still wondering about that. I'm thinking rather than going with a side friction, I might go with some other magic gadget. So that'll do for that over. Right, round to Dave, I think it was, G4EEV, to pick it up from G4XAT. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, over.
From G4EEV. Okay, let's check how we're getting my audio there. Good evening everybody, nice to see some new stations on. Yes, this week I've been planning out a modification to my antenna system of two 8-element Yagis, crossed Yagis, that I intend to put up for EME, which requires a preamp and relays at the masthead. And one of the problems is all the interconnects from the relays. And I'll just put these in front of the camera. I've found these end plugs which will connect to the relays, which have got the hand formable or semi-rigid cable. The question is, how much power can these take? Looking upon the specification, I believe this is RG402, and it's supposed to take 790 watts at 500 megs. I wonder if that's realistic. I don't want to burn these things out. They look quite small. Anyway, the other question I have is, does anybody have any good ideas for PAs for 23 centimeters? Because that's probably another project I'd like to get started on as well. Anyway, okay, Jim, about PSU issues, we know about those, don't we? there was a design in Radcom, wasn't there, for some sort of protection. Maybe it's worth considering doing that at some time. So food for thought. Anyway, over to Peter now. GW7BZY. This is G4EEV.
Evening all. It seems Peter has forgot to switch on. Maybe I'll leave it over the next over to him before turning it to Mike. Let me turn off the audio bit. I just quickly wanted to show you guys something I put on the forum, which I stumbled and worked on well, maybe about 3 or 4 weeks. Finally last week I got it working. And actually this let me show you quickly. You might remember I had problems with only one station having a problem crashing my VLC, and I can show you here that this station, if I run this, it runs flawlessly. Let's. That's a bit big. Let me quickly turn it a little bit down. What's this? So it runs flawlessly now, this one. But if I run this file, you will see it disappear within a few seconds. And then my VLC is crashed, so now I have to answer this file as well. As soon as it opens, it crashes my VLC quite extensively every time I opened it. I have another file here which works fine. So this is another station, and it works pretty fine, no problems. Apparently the whole issue was VLC playing with the codecs, and if you have the hardware, sorry, this is in Dutch, but your hardware acceleration decoding is automatic here. And it automatically chooses the top one, which is the direct. Which is the direct 3D11 acceleration, which is in fact the latest one. If I don't choose that one, but this one, or even take it off, switch it off, or take the bottom one, I don't have any problem. If I take the automatic or the top one, it will crash every time. Well, to show you quickly, it's crashing, and if I then open another instance and turn it quickly to the off in this case, and next time I open the same file, it runs flawlessly. So no point in showing you this longer. So this was what I wanted to show you, and apparently somewhere along the line the hardware acceleration of DirectX, Direct 3D, is causing this kind of problem, and I took quite a while, because first of all we thought about the station of of this station causing the problem. Actually, we had finding it also in his hardware, where he used a kind of encoding which caused this problem also for VLC. So hardware encoders and decoding is always an issue. Well, that's basically I wanted to tell you now. I can tell you another thing, and that's OBS. I just updated to the latest one, which is 27.2.1, and I actually have quite a few of my encoding problems with that as well. Solved it by updating my video card in the end. So, well, it's all encoding and decoding today, where I have played along, and well, apparently it starts working now. Microphone, I will pass on to Peter. Peter, I hope you're ready. Otherwise, Mike MJW is taking over from Papa Alpha 3 Foxtrot Bravo X-Ray.
Good evening, everybody. This is GW7BZY, hopefully, now getting in. And for some reason decided to crash. It's been working flawlessly all day. And it just decided it wasn't going to. So there we go. Now we've got a microphone. Located in outside the town of Carnarvon here. I've been working on this quite this afternoon. I'm using the free codec coder, and using the NVIDIA card to compress the H.265, which seems to work much better than the DVB Express, the DATV Express, should I say. I'll make it short and end here, and let everybody else have a go. From GW7BZY, if I can find a way of switching it off.
Right, hopefully it'll catch up with me, and I might even have some audio. Very good, Peter. You had two audio sources there, so there was a bit of an echo, but otherwise good video, everything was working fine. So just a few OBS issues, and having just updated it, I'm beginning to wonder if it's going to do the same for me, but hopefully it won't. Anyone complains though, I've got a copy of Bunny to play to test it. Just a few things really to talk about. Firstly, Dave was asking about 23SEMS PAs, but didn't specify what you want. Do you want 10 watts? Do you want 100 watts? Do you want 500 watts? It sort of depends, but there are various options. There were the ones that are made by Bert Moderman, but the design is based on Henning's design that he spoke about many years ago now at the one of the microwave round tables, which used surplus transistors from base stations, which were at the time about €10 each. They're probably unobtainable these days, but I'm sure there are lots of them in people's cupboards. So that may be one thing. I'm using OBS and Windows 11 Benno, so challenging. Let's hope it works. The only thing is Windows 11 did an update last week or so and messed with all the audio sources, swapped them all around, which was not a nice thing for it to do. It messed up this, and it caught me out a week later because it also messed up Zoom. so it was a bit of a problem. Anyway, coming on to stuff to show. Let's see if the bench camera's working. Yeah, here we go. This is there's not been much progress, I'm afraid, on the amplifier device. I've got some more PCBs on the way now, but you know, it works. The hardware bit works, so it's just a matter of writing software. That is coming along. You can see the panel, which I think I showed last week. Anyway, I painted it blue. The cutting out of the various holes worked fine. There's two different types of holes there. Some of them have been cut by a 1mm mill, and some of them have been cut by a 2mm mill. And the 2mm mill, when you're trying to cut slots for LEDs, of course it's the width of the 2mm LEDs, so you get sort of oblong things, but actually they look quite good. Whereas the 1mm drill cuts the holes, but takes forever and has a tendency to break. So there you go. The other thing I was going to show is on the Polycom, so I've made some progress here with the well-good loop. And I don't know if you can work out what I've done there, but it's basically an octagonal design with 40cm sides and 135-degree standard plumbing fittings, and the top bar you can possibly just about make out there's a break in that, and that break is of course deliberate. It allows you to put the preamp on it, and this, by the way, is not a transmitting loop, it's a receiving loop. So it's overkill in terms of its current capability, but I couldn't really face bending it round correctly, so I went for the simple method of just cutting up the pipe and putting standard solder fittings in it, and it seems to work okay. So that's progress on that. Right, was there anything else? No, I don't think so for this round, so let me pass it. Well, firstly, let me put my picture back up, and let me pass it on to John, G8IKP. So, around to you, John, G0MJW.
A bit late on parade, maybe. Yeah, we just put it on. I think I'm transmitting. Hopefully, I've got audio. Let me just switch over to the wideband monitor, just in case you can't hear anything. Anyway, I thought I'd come on this evening and say hello. I've been watching you all for about 2 years, but unfortunately, on my radio, most of my radio is done at my works QTH. My main station address is my works QTH, so I tend to do my radio from here in the daytime. So I'm not very often around on a Thursday. So anyway, very nice to meet you all for the first time. It's funny because I've been watching you for like 2 years, and I feel that I know you all very, very well. But of course, you've never heard from me, of course. But I have met some of you before at Cat 19. I came along and was so inspired that I got on to build loads of things, and I've been building lots of gear. I built Portsdown 2020s, Portsdown 4s. I built Rydes. I've built 2 mini tuners. I've got 2 knuckers now running. If I can see that one. But it's a case of having to, because I don't have any local activity, I have to use broadcasting and loan equipment to people to get them to come onto the air. Anyway, it's quite interesting listening to all what you've been doing this week. I've not been doing too much radio. I've been working on some antennas. We had, since the storms last weekend, we've had some damage to our tower on GB3 SD and GB7 SD. That's between Weymouth and Dorset. So that took up a lot of Monday and Tuesday. So that's that's been it really for this week for me. Anyway, so I won't. Not going to hold it too long. I could make lots of comments on what you're all doing, but hopefully we'll next time when we're on, we'll probably be able to tell you a bit about what I've been doing. But my main interests are narrowband microwave. I'm sorry to say, do a lot of hill topping in the winter months. Anyway, I think it's back to Colin now. That's the other Dorset station on the net this evening. So G4KLB. This is JIKP.
Oh, I think it's me next, actually, John. Hang on. Yeah, according to Dave's list. Oh, let's turn that down as well. And let's do that and that. Anyway, very good evening to everybody. Great to see Peter and John on. Don't think I've had the pleasure of working with either of you before. Let me just check this. Hang on. Right. I notice there's quite a lot of lip sync going out. I didn't know if it was my receiving or what, but bit of lip sync issues there. Anyway, evening, Jim. Nice to see you again after a while, and well done for repairing that amplifier. It's very good. And Gareth, you have been busy, haven't you? That thing on top of your tripod is very impressive, and I wonder when that will get an airing for real, as it were. Sorry about my picture quality tonight, by the way. I don't know. I've been fiddling about with it on HV the other day, so I've probably cranked down the bit rate or something. Dave, nice to see you. G4EEV, and Peter. I saw you early. You've had this is the curse of the BATC Net, because I was watching you earlier talking to Dave, and beautiful pictures, sound perfect, and you've got an echo on it now because you're on the net. There's no other reason. A little bit of an echo there. Good to see you, Benno, on the net this evening, and yeah, I've been watching your VLC issues with interest. It's similar here on my old computer, which is an old i5. I can run the hardware encoding on VLC, and it seems to work fine. But on the computer, which is an i7 with a good graphics card on it and etc., I've had to turn off the hardware encoding on VLC for that. So it's one of those mysteries, isn't it? I like the Wellgood loop, Mike. I've got one of the original Wellbrook loops in the garden, which I use for noise cancelling purposes on Top Band and 80, and they're very good, so you'll enjoy that. And John, okay about your aerials? Yes, unfortunately, my HF air, I've got quite a long wire, and at one point at the far end of the garden, it was up at about 60 feet, held up by an aluminium pole made up of 5-foot swaged sections, which is now bent at 45 degrees at about 30 feet. I had a look at it earlier today, Gareth, and it's bent right in the middle, so a bit of a nightmare to get that down. It's grown with the tree. When we first moved in, the tree was about 35 foot high, and it's 60 foot high. And I just every couple of years I shove a 5-foot section of thick aluminium pole into it. So that's a bit of a disappointment. Not much on the radio front. I did get these delivered. Let's see if that will focus on that. Will that focus on that? Nearly. This is a printed circuit board from JLC PCB in China. It's come out very nicely, and I used to get purple printed circuit boards from OSH Park in America, but Mike MJW has re-enthused me on purple boards, so there you go, there's a purple one. And all that is, by the way, is a very high gain audio amplifier. And if I quickly go to the unsteady cam, hopefully there'll be some sound on it this time. That's the populated board, and what I use it for is sticking watches on it. I've taken to mending watches now as well as clocks. This is a little piezoelectric transducer being used as a microphone instead of a greetings card noisemaker. So you stick your watch on there, and there's a lovely bit of software which is sort of free called Watchoscope. And if I turn that off, so there you are, you can see the watch ticking away. And if we go into analysing mode, it will adjust levels and detect the rate, and then start telling you what's wrong with your watch. This is one that's recently appeared on the bench, so it's got quite a good amplitude. The balance wheel is moving at 225 degrees. It's got quite a big beat error rate, 2.5 milliseconds. That's the sort of difference between the tick and the tock, and it's gaining 55 seconds a day, which actually for a very old watch like that, it's probably not that bad actually. I can see what I'm doing is not showing you the software. Oh, there's the software showing me all those things I was talking about. It's the curse of the net, Peter rather. Yes, and that's it in its scope mode, so you can see it ticking away there. Right, so that's probably enough of watches for one day. So I shall now put it round to Colin, who, according to the list I've got, is next on the list. Let's try and remember to do that as well. And just so everyone can see who's making these dreadful mistakes this evening, I'll put my test card up. Over to you, Colin. G4KLB, the BATC Net, G4FKK.
B. Sound to come up. Oh, hello, I've got some issues. I'm not decoding. Yeah. Not good. Oh dear.
Well, I guess it'll be me then. Oh, it does work. Sorry about the lip sync, but we'll live with that. Not brilliant sound, but there is some there, at least. Not a good night on the net tonight. If somebody could come up on the chat and confirm that I can be heard all right, I'll keep talking. Gareth, lovely tripod. Yeah, really good. And John, pleased to hear you're into narrowband microwave. Never heard you on, but I'm not out that often. I've got 24 gigs and 10 gigs and everything, but tend to get out more on TV than anything else. And I gather Noel GTZ is going out on 122 gigs tomorrow from about 11 o'clock, so you might hear him calling CQ on 122 gigs, anybody with some gear. That's a reference to last week. Benno, yeah, H265 H264 into VLC it's a big problem. I found this all through the development of Portsdown. It's been difficult trying to get coding that works with every decoder. But well done on the detective work on that one. Yeah, Peter, you had a slight audio echo there. Now, DATV Express, of course, was designed 5-6 years ago and just uses a preset set of settings in FFmpeg that were optimized for 1 megasymbol, 2 megasymbol sort of stuff. It's no surprise now that with Pentium i5s and the like, optimized FFmpeg that we're getting better results. Peter and John, it'd be good on the next over if you could describe what your stations are. We'd be interested to know exactly what kit you're using. That would be really good to hear. Mike, good bit of big soldering on the loop. Wonder whether you used an iron or a flame on that. Activity here, mainly software as usual, working on the repeater controller, doing some exploration now as to whether it can control an ATEM. Justin and I think it can, but it's certainly almost in a state where GB3HV is ready to go with that repeater controller. Did get a Ryde update out which fixed the jumping to adjacent channel issue. I had screwed up the configuration control on that and it reintroduced a previous bug, but that is now fixed. And it also can be used as a config to HDMI converter, the same build. So that's been used on HV. And today I've been working on Portsdown 4. Did get a bit of an update out to Portsdown 4. On the development channel, not on the main channel yet, and I was hoping to show you on this over, but Colin managed to end early, so I didn't quite get it done, but I will show you on the next over. And I've been doing some work on the audio, hence all the problems. I thought it was had cured it, but there you go. So let's get back to let's give Colin another go, and then we'll put it round to Jim. So G4KLB to try again, then G7NTG from the top of the list from GKQ.
Well, it'll be me again for now. Well, I'll give Colin another go in a minute. He's having trouble there, obviously. Just a couple of points, really. Yeah, John, lending out equipment, yeah, to get other people on the air. Yeah, I know all about that. I think there's about 8 people in my area who've got equipment and antennas I've built for them, just so we can get our local networking. I've got somebody to talk to then, but they're all enjoying it a lot. Some of them have actually paid me for some of the stuff, so it's all right, don't mind. Antennas, I keep experimenting with them, and so I keep improving them, and everybody around here has got the previous version, so that's all right. I get to make new antennas. And watches, Martin, yeah, very interesting that. I like the look of them. That's, that little bit of kit tells you a lot about them. The old wind-up watches. Well, we've all got our individual other parts of it, and here's one of mine, as you probably already know. There we go. The one on the right I've been building that for about 3 weeks now, so that's only partly built, but there you go. brass and copper. So that's what I do instead of watches. So only one other comment. I've managed to tweak my dish and get it pointing a bit better now. So I've got another dB.5, and by tweaking it with a spanner, and then coming back up here in the shack, taking the reading, then going back down, tweaking it again with a spanner, and then coming back up and making careful notes of what I've done. So bits of paper with lots of different readings telling me I've moved it half a turn and then half a turn more, and then more. You can probably see my M and my D readings, but we got a bit more. But of course you have to keep pressing the OK button to bring up the report on the screen. So I'll actually send you an email, because what would be nice is to be able to have the report on the screen, for me, have it on permanently. That would be very handy, rather than going off after a few seconds, or make the delay a lot longer. So if I bring the report up, it lasts for half a minute instead of a few seconds. So that would be a good idea. Presume it's all in the software somewhere. Anyway, with that, we'll put it round to see if Colin's managed to cure it. Other than that, I'll be round to you, Gareth. So I'll try G4KLB from G7NT. Have another go, Colin.
G7NTG G4KLB. Okay then, excellent. I discovered the problem. It was as you would expect, it was operator error. What happened is I put the headphones down and I clicked start recording on OBS. I didn't spot that because I didn't know I'd turned it on, and no amount of Pluto rebooting or changing other bits fixed the problem, so I just moved over to another frequency just to try it. And then I spotted when I decided to close OBS, and it said, hang on, you're recording. Am I? Yes, I was. I'd put the headphones down on the mouse. Despite testing before coming on air, I'd clicked start recording, and that was a bridge too far for the system. So there we go. Anyway, that's that's that. I'm just checking my power level actually. Okay, that's not too bad. Storm damage. We did have a bit of storm damage. The receive QO100 receive dish got moved off and needed to be set up again. Transmit I haven't moved. You remember the transmit dish? I beefed up quite a bit after the last fiasco where the dish folded in half. So that seems to be. I haven't adjusted that at all. Just keeping an eye on the power there. It's about normal, but I haven't tweaked the dish at all for transmit. So that's obviously successful. Quite a bit of damage around here, this, that, and the other, but got me 77s for SQ down, but all the other aerials I left up in the 90-mile-an-hour winds. So that was okay. So that's a bit of a baptism in fire for SQ's aerials. So that's all okay. Good to see G8IKP down there in Weymouth. That's not very far from us, really. Far enough, but not very far. So it might fancy giving a call on 2 meters on 144525, 144525, and see if we should be in 2 meter range. Weymouth is just about doable, depending where you are in Weymouth, of course. That rather depends. There is a big hill, very big hill, really. I remember I took my moped down there, and I seized the engine halfway down, which was very entertaining afterwards, and it actually and managed to actually unseize it a little bit further down the road, and managed to get back home. So that was all right. Oh dear. So I'll probably just do the one over this time then, because I because we're already into the second one, so I'll do one. I'll try not to go on too long, but there we are. I like the unsteady cam, Martin. That's very good. That's very good. But whereas we've got shaky cam here, I've actually splashed out on some genuine cable here. You can see some Saku form, if that's how you pronounce it, RG402. I generally actually use this this stuff that emanates from China, which has served me well in the past, but for the higher frequencies, I did splash out. I'm just building a PA or one of the many jobs going on here, and I did splash out for some genuine stuff. So I have had genuine stuff before, but I managed to buy some from a rally that some lengths that had SMAs already on, quite good quality ones actually. And I've been using those, but I've run out. I've used it all up. So I have used the proper stuff on the current system, but I've used it all up, so I had to buy a little bit more. Okay, on the purple circuit boards, you can see here, this is incidentally, this is our MacGuffin test setup. There's another one over there on the bench, but this is the one. This is an example one that you'll be seeing later on. But in there is one of. I'm just using a Portsdown 4 as a test subject. I won't go through it all now, but you can see if you change frequency on here, say to 437, for example. Come on. Oh yes, there we are. Then you can see it goes to 77s on there, and likewise any other frequency, you can see it'll go. So all of this is controlled directly from the Portsdown. Switches all the relays over and this, that, and the other. So no more cable changing when you're out portable, which was the pain really. I used to make so many mistakes doing that. But anyway, I was just going to show this little purple board though. So we've done a bit of yeah, you can see I actually used a little bit of that, one of those cables, a couple of those cables in there, because I ran out of the little ones. But there should be PAs and preamps in between these lines, but I've omitted those from this test jig because it's just going to look a bit too complicated. So this will allow me to check it all out anyway. So there we go. So that's what I've been sort of playing with. I've also some of you may have noticed I've tidied some of the wires up because they got a little bit out of hand. I really wanted the cables to be all external so people could look at the photograph and follow the wires, but it just got too much of a mess, and so you're going to have to use the circuit diagram. So I just had to tidy it up a little bit there. So there we go. Anyway, enough of that one. So there we are. So yeah, so we've been busy doing all sorts really. I've got a lot of domestic stuff going on as well. Taking delivery of a skip today and trying to fill that up, and I've got a load of wiring, lights and power to the several sheds that, that we've now got. So there we go. I've got the roof on. I've got the sheds now finished. For those that were, I don't think I've got a picture of the shed finished, have I? Oh, dinner's ready, is it? Okay. Don't think I've got picture of the. I don't think that one is. Is that finished? Oh yes, I have. Yes, I have. Okay, yeah. There's our barn shed. Is that? Oh no, that's not a finished one. That's not a finished one. There's no felt on the roof. Anyway, there we are. But it's a shed. That's it really. But we get quite excited about sheds. So there we are. And that's my latest one. The barn shed. So he's got his roof on just before the storm actually. So that was lucky, wasn't it? Got that done. Right, now who's it going to now? Let's have a look. Is it to Gareth now? I think by the look of it. If I'm wrong, then whoever's right take it. But I think it's off to Gareth now. G4XAT, G4KLB. Can't find my test card. There we go.
Right, okay. It seems to be functional. G4X80, thanks Colin. Yeah, it's a nice shed there. You can't beat a bit of eaves height. It's sort of what we did in this loft room I'm in. The builder said, why don't you put a Sussex barn end on it? At which point he got him to explain what a Sussex barn end was. And that is it. And it made a huge difference to what is basically just a loft room. It's a nice big loft room, mine. It's full of stuff. You'll see my cameras are very carefully placed so you don't see the absolutely appalling mess. Right, okay. I've been working on this. I'll show you that. It's a project called Weatherbox. It's mainly for 122 gigahertz and stuff. But I thought, well, I'll start off and do a nice bezel for it. So I've done a nice bezel for that. So that's that. I'll try a different camera. Hang on, before I do, I just want to show you that. Hang on, bear with me. There we are. Now that's a strip of LEDs from one of those corn cob lights, of which somebody gave me a bag full, so I went through them and thought, oh, I can do something with these. That's a dead one, by the way. The one with the black dot in it is the signs of expiration. So, hang on while I swap cameras. There you go. Right, that's what I made. It's a lamp for my good lady's bedside. Hexagonal base, mainly because I needed a shape. I actually saw a commercial product that had an octagon base, but it was rechargeable and not very sustainable, and it wasn't real wood and stuff like that. So I did that instead. I'll just take a walk and show you that. You can see the concept. The 3D printer's been busy, so a clear base, and the little 6 ones on the front with their date of birth conveniently emblazoned upon it. So let's go back to the shack. There we are. And a little eBay touch dimmer. It's DC, up to 30 volts. So I put a string of those corncob LEDs together on a little aluminium panel, and there's a boost converter from eBay inside the oak block that raises the 5 volts from an old phone charger up to a suitable level for the LEDs. And then the touch dimmer just depends how long you tap it, whether it dims up, down, or turns itself off, and all sorts of nice things like that. So I thought I'd bore you with that. And that's it for me tonight, I think. I won't be on the HV net because I'm away doing more pitching up in Warwick next Tuesday. But I should be back next week for this one. So without further ado, have a test card. Transition that and say G4EEV. Apologies, Dave, I think I said B last time. This is G4X80, passing it around to you from the BATC Net. Over.
From G4EEV. Okay. Yes, it's been an interesting round this evening. Thanks for the advice on the cable there and the RG402. I'll probably just try that with on a dummy load and see how hot it gets. But I don't have a lot of space. I didn't want to put anything too thick in there. They're very good connectors, so I think they'll be okay.
Interesting, Jim, regarding aligning your dish. I had a similar problem. So what I did, I have an old Samsung tablet. It's no use now because you can't download anything, it's so old, but I did have VNC on it, so I set VNC up on my computer, and then on the Wi-Fi I can get that outside, and as I'm tilting the dish I can see the signals going up and down, which is quite useful. You might be able to do it on a mobile phone as well. I think Android has a VNC reader. Okay, about the PA mic, yes. I've just got one of those Mitsubishi bricks at the moment, gives about 2 watts. I can just about get from here in Harrogate over to near Hull into the EY repeater, but it's a bit limiting, so it's something to boost the power a bit. I know about Bert, I've been in touch with him, so there's a possibility as well. And I was talking to Rob earlier this week, and we're going to try to see if I can get up to him with his dish sometime when he's off next week on 23 SEM. Okay, Martin, regarding watching us this afternoon, yes, that was quite a good session. I've often found this, there's people on the satellite, but it's hard to establish a QSO, so I don't know what other people do, but we had quite a good session there. And sorry to hear about the damage to your antenna, Martin. And very interesting about the clock diagnostics. I didn't realise it was so technical. Okay, that's about me for this time anyway. So I'll put it over to Peter. I did see he was having problems, so I guess if Peter's not around, then Ben will take it. But first instance, over to you, Pete. GW7BZY from G4EEV.
I think I waited long enough, but I'm not sure if Peter got it right. Anyway, Peter, Golf Whiskey 7 Bravo Yankee Zulu it was. Should have the microphone or the frequency was all his, but maybe in the next over before Mike taking doesn't matter. Yes, all great signals and lovely net. One thing I wanted to comment on, beautiful, the way how you can check the clocks for if it's right on the spot. You're told us 15 seconds per day. Well, it looks very long for me, but that sounds about my computer being off. Being my computer, by the way, Windows 11 running on an i7 and OBS the latest version, and I had to update the drivers, the NVIDIA drivers in the end to get it working again. My NVIDIA drivers were probably out of date, and that solved a bit of my problem, because somewhere in my encoder description of my OBS, I have somewhere that I have constant bitrate transmission, and it used to be on constant bitrate HQ transmission, and suddenly that HQ part didn't work as well. So that's still a problem, but at least I'm now directly out of OBS into the Pluto, and there's no H2 no free stream encoder or whatever FFmpeg between that, and that works flawlessly now. I also had quite a few problems already starting up the OBS, the latest version, that is, with the virtual cam tool, which is obviously switched on when you use free stream. So anyway, we need well, maybe more people will get problems, but then we'll see that eventually. It works, and if it works flawlessly, but I already found a few problems when I first initial just did the update. While the previous updates always went flawlessly, and suddenly things didn't work anymore, but that is Windows all over. Okay, microphone on to Peter. Want a little bit more? Please switch on your heating wires in your amplifier, in your tubes, and put everything onto high voltage. The microphone and the frequency all to you from Papa Alpha 3 Foxtrot Bravo X-Ray.
Just going to check my lip sync, so sorry about the feedback. Oh dear, it's miles out. I don't know what causes that, but there we go. That's it's usually on right on, so I don't know why it's suddenly gone off. Maybe that was a function of OBS updating. I'll have to check that. But all okay. Very interesting net so far. Yeah, I think we need to sort out how you get these port stands to come up a bit quicker, and the obvious one is to start beforehand. And maybe we need to have some method, Dave, of turning on and off the PTT without actually killing it, so that it's actually transmitting, but not the PTT bit. Of course, you could just use a switch, but maybe people like to use a touchscreen. Anyway, yeah, PCBs, purple, big bag of them here. That come from JLC, and the quality is pretty good actually. I don't know if it's going to focus, but it's more than adequate. It might not be the best, but you know, it's good enough. And the price is just very, very cheap. At least it is at the moment. It might get more expensive over time. So it's definitely worth having PCBs made these days rather than trying to make your own. I'm just going to go back to the Polycom camera. I haven't got a shaky cam. I need a shaky cam. Maybe I should trademark the facial camera as well, the one that shows a picture of me. Anyway, that's a zoom in with the Polycom or Polycam of the top end of the loop. So I think you might be able to see the blowtorch action that was used to make that work. And it was a very, very difficult thing to do. It took getting on for 10 minutes, including cutting all the bits of pipe. So it's really, really simple to make these things, really, really simple. Yes, Tim, I mean a button that cycles between off, standby and TX, but doesn't do that. A button that cycles between off and on from the point of view of the transmitter, but another button which turns on and off the stream, so that you're just controlling the PTT. Anyway, zoom out on the Polycam and show you the rest of the shack, seeing as Jim was talking about it. My shack is actually quite small. It's, what is it? It's about, I don't know, 4 meters by maybe 6 meters, something like that. But it ain't all that high for the most of it. And if it was that sort of barn construction, this room would be a heck of a lot bigger. And instead of under eaves storage, I could store things under the eaves. I suppose I still can, but I'd have a much bigger room and much more headroom. But luckily, I'm not very tall, so I don't have the issue of banging my head. But it is a bit limited to how big this room can be. But big enough for a shack, I think, anyway. Certainly I can get most of the stuff in here, most of the test equipment. And if it was any bigger, there might be some threat to the integrity of the floor, and I might end up back downstairs. So, just a few more comments. Yeah, the tripod looked really good, Gareth. I forgot to mention that. And very nice lamp that you produced there. I do hope, though, that the sixpence with the date of birth has actually subtracted 20 years or added 20 years, and so that, of course, the wife is much younger than she actually is. Always a good idea. Okay, apart from that, I was going to comment on the PA for Dave. I would say an MRF 287, was it 287 or 286, would be the way to go. So W6PQL used to do some boards for that, which used a pair of them. And a pair of them will give you about 100 watts. I know they're supposed to give a lot more than that, but I've never succeeded getting a lot more than that. But if you turn the bias right up, you'll get quite a reasonable amount of DATV from a pair of those. So if you look at W6PQL's website, you see where you can buy the boards. You need the devices as well. I don't know if he's got any left. I know lots of us have got all sorts of stashes of these devices. We had the interesting situation of we had all these 2.4 gigahertz amplifiers, which nobody needed. So we took all the transistors off, and then QA100 came along a few years later, and everyone wonders, oh no, what did I do with that amplifier board? Yeah. What else? No, I think that's probably it. One thing, I won't be on the HV Net for similar reasons. I'm not available on Tuesday evening this time. So won't catch up with everyone on Tuesday, but hopefully catch up with everyone again next Thursday. So hope everyone keeps safe in 7C. And I think it has to go back down to John, G8IKP, although I'm not quite sure what's happened to Peter and whether he's in a position to transmit or not, so perhaps you could say on the chat. G0MJW, nominally passing it round to John. Over.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Just check if I've got audio. Yeah, thanks, Mike. Oh, just check if I've got audio. Let's turn it off. I'll give you a camera action. Yes, to Dave, the station here is basically we're using OBS with a Pluto, direct to a Pluto, running I think the firmware from the French guy, and we're using the F1 EJP software to create our streams directly. Amplifier wise, I'm using one of the small filtered AMSAT amplifiers, which gives about 100 to 200 milliwatts of good ATV, into one of the Nokia PAs, one of these actually. I bought these back in, like, I think it was summer of 2018 or something, when they used to be about 20 quid a piece, but then of course the Es Hal effect came along, and I think now you can only buy them as the PCB. I expect the scrapyard selling them decided that probably the heatsink was worth more money than PCB, so you find quite often you only buy them in the PCB now. And antenna wise, I've got two dishes. I'm using on transmit, I'm using a Channel Master 1.2 with some extended arms, so I can get the potty right into the focal of the dish. And I did used to use the LMB on the end of the potty, but I found there's quite a bit of loss, so I've used a separate dish now, 1.1 steel dish, and I can get on my Ryde, I can get a regularly every day, I get a 10 dB MIR from the beacon, so I think it's working quite well. I think I lost a few dBs running it on the back of the potty. So if you've got a room, obviously two dishes is quite good. I'm quite lucky because my gear is out in the garage, and the garage has got a wall that faces to the south. So I've got two dishes up on the wall, high up, so I don't crash into them when I go out into the courtyard. And that's it really. Other things to mention, PAs for Dave. I use one of the VHF design PAs on narrowband. It does produce about 320 watts. I guess that's going to be about 30-40 watts of DATV, but they're quite, I suppose they're quite pricey. It costs you about £500, but they're certainly very, very good and very well protected. It's almost impossible to blow them up because they won't let you put a bad load on or anything. I was going to do one question I was going to ask to Gareth, because you had one of those surveyor's tripods, and I was looking this morning at the microwave groups IO, and people are saying there that they use those tripods. I've got two of them, but some of them are saying that the top face is not actually flat. Some have got a bevel on them of about 0.5 millimetre, and I wondered if what yours was, and that's the question to the group tonight. Anyway, I think it's round to Martin now. Pass it over to you. I'll just give a quick transition, and hopefully we'll cut past.
Yeah, very good, John. G8IKP, G4FKK are returning. Yeah, you did cut off the end of your transmission, but only a smidge. So nothing to worry about there. And yeah, all very interesting. Oh, by the way, John, I don't know if you probably have got the chat, but Gareth says his is flat, his tripod, and Mike's is too. And I checked that when I read that thread. All right, jolly good. So be prepared, as they say. Okay, Dave, that Noel's on 122 gigahertz again. Two ear bleeding, that frequency. And yeah, I thought HV went really well on Tuesday. I mean, there was a few odd things that you were testing, but seemed to work quite well. I've not done the Ryde update yet. For some reason, I seem to be tied up with all sorts of finicky things this last couple of weeks. But I will get that done. And Jim, yeah, as everyone was saying, well, as Tim and Dave were saying, let's see if the unsteady cam is still functioning. So there's my Ryde on the little 5-inch screen, and I've in the config file I've made it so that it reads the MER of a signal and whatever that says. What does that say? dBm power all the time. And as Dave and Tim were saying, I've also programmed up a thing on the remote such that I can turn it off and on permanently anyway. But I thought adjusting the config file was more of a challenge, so I did that as well. Oh, and Jim, I was on the the QO100 worldwide net on Sunday, and there was a new station on Henry ZS6 Mike Charlie. I don't know if you're watching, but it turns out he's a bass player as well. So surely we've got enough musicians now to make a band on this this net. Well done on repointing the dish, by the way. Yeah, mine's a dB down after the howling gales we've had, so I must go and fix that as well. And I like the models you are making there, Jim. Let's go back to quickly. I need your skills for this. This is another. Let's have a look. There's another watch in its little thing there. You probably can't see this because it really is tiny, but basically there's a thing called a click spring in a watch, and this particular movement has got the most ridiculous click spring, and it flew all over the shack. So I'm currently trying to make another one, like you can just see it on the end of the tweezers there, possibly. So I'm trying to make another one out of a top E guitar string, but I use fairly thin strings, but thinnest I've got is a 0.22 millimeter, and it needs to be very slightly smaller than that. And I haven't got the micro engineering skills that you appear to have, Jim. Anyway, Colin, real RG402, very good. I've got some here, but I don't know if it's real or Chinese. It was quite expensive, I felt. The MacGuffin looks very good. I've written here MacGuffin and then skip, but I'm assuming the skip you've got is not for the MacGuffin. I hope not anyway. It looks very impressive. And the shed, as does the shed, that looks really good. Gareth, your weather box looks very good. I did notice you got your echo back when you went to the second camera to show us something else, but only mildly. And hey, I had the same idea, unless it was your idea and I heard you talking about it somewhere. But it's Mrs. FKK's birthday this year, so I thought, why not? It'd be good. A sixpence with the date of her birth on it, 1992. I don't think they had sixpences in 1992, did they? Dave EEV, yeah, good idea with the old tablet. I did try that actually. Then I found that by the time I get to where my dish is, I wasn't getting much of a Wi-Fi signal, and no, it wasn't transmitting at the time. £1, I can't afford that much, Mike. Good Lord. What was the other thing? Yeah, but that's a good idea and much more convenient. Benno, okay, about the NVIDIA driver update. I still haven't gone to Windows 11 yet. I ought to try it, really, I suppose. But I'm not going to just yet. Yeah, JLC, sometimes they're very, very cheap. That board I showed you last time, which I've lost now. Oh, there it is. So it's only a small one, about 1.5 by, or a couple of inches by 1.5 or something. That was £1.49 for 5, which I thought was quite good. Plus £2.50 for postage. Sometimes the postage is a lot, and sometimes it's not. But anyway, yeah, it's they're very good quality. I think they're really good quality, and you can add bits on you. You can ask it to be gold flaked and all sorts of other things you can ask them to do to it, but I imagine the price goes up quite considerably then. Yeah, what was the other thing I was going to make? Oh, 10 minutes to make the loop, blimey. It took me about 2 minutes to make my patch feed, or to solder it. I'm forgetting the 3 or 4 hours it took me to cut the circle out first. John, yeah, Nokia PAs. I had one of those. It went quite well. It wasn't terribly efficient, my one, and I've got a south-facing garage, and I think one of this year's projects after I've built the workshop in the garden might be to remote everything. At the moment, I've got the amplifier in the shack, and my shack is very, very tiny. There's the amplifier. It's got a back panel on it now. It still hasn't got a front panel on it yet, but that could do with going in the garden, because at the moment there's 30 feet of LDF 450. It's not look too much more at the mess of this shack. Yeah, the only thing I've managed to blow up one of those LD MOSFETs, well, not one of the ones you were mentioning, but any LD MOSFET, was by overdriving it by mistake once. So overdriving is the one thing they really don't like, isn't it? Okay, that'll probably do for me. So I'll put it round to you, Dave, unless there's any other instructions. Oh, Noel wants another look at the tripod. Oh, the aluminium PCs. Yeah, that'd be. They'd make excellent front panels, I reckon, Mike. I was thinking along those lines. Right. With that, then back round to you, Dave. I don't know if Peter. I haven't seen Peter pop up on the chat saying whether or not he's going to come back or not, but it would be nice to see a bit more from Peter. But in the meantime, round to you, Dave. G8GKQ, and thanks for running the net. Good night, everyone. GKK.
G4FKK and the net. GHGKQ, yeah, sorry about the slightly low audio. Right, I was going to do a quick demo. This is what I've been working on Portsdown. This is a browser window on my OBS PC, and I've pointed it at the Portsdown, and if I go to that, oh hang on, no, I need to go to the window, not the OBS. If I go put my mouse there and go to snaps, I get an image, a web page that shows all the screen captures that Portsdown has done, so I can download them. If I go back, This is the bit that isn't implemented yet, but is on its way. You should be able to web control the touchscreen. So that's what I'm hoping to do. And yes, it should show thumbnails. Okay, if somebody writes me the bit of HTML, I'll put it in there. I'm doing the non-web bits at the moment, but that is the idea. But web control will come. And that's thanks to Phil M0DNY, who did most of the hard graft on that. Okay, let's go back to a sensible camera. Stand by. Bit of that, fade across to that. The other thing I wanted to show is big test cards. This is my tuner lead. I shall plug it into this ports down here, which I hope you can see. Yes, you can. And go to receive, go to QO100 and select beacon MER, and that's the beacon MER in big numbers. So that's the way to align your dish. I actually dangle a ports down out of my shack window, and I can see it from a dish. And that's how I line my dish. But you can also do it on the Ryde. You can reconfigure the config file to do that. So there are a number of ways of doing it, Jim, but OSD tog is the way I do it in my Ryde. What else have we got? HTML. Yeah, it's just using Nginx. So if somebody comes up with the Nginx web page to do the thumbnails, we can do that. OBS Virtual Cam, I use Benno with the new version with no problems. It started up okay. The one thing I can't find in OBS is the audio delay. I can't find in the new version. But maybe somebody on the chat can tell me how to find the audio plus or minus delay on that. Good to see lots of watchers tonight, both on the stream and on the net. How many have we got on the stream? I'm just looking now. We're 28 at the moment, and I saw there were plenty on the net. I have also been playing with a 5-inch screen. Thanks to Gareth for the case for it there. That will come in with proper ports down for support soon. John, the loss on the potty all depends on your lens. I'm on a 1.2 meter dish with a potty, and I'm getting, as you saw, about 10.2 dB MER. 1.1 at 10. I'm probably losing a dB or so, but it's very critical on the lens. As for switching ports down on and off and standby and the like, I think people can afford to put a switch on their PA. It just adds too much confusion otherwise, and that's what I do. My ports down, which is where is it? Oh no, it's the actual ports down that transmits is over here, runs all the time. It's been on since about 5 o'clock, and I just turn the PA on and off. PHP, I don't really want to run PHP, Tim. And the only other thing to mention, ISS contact during the week. The Germans did an ISS contact which was on broadcast on QO100, and very professional it was too. Looked really good, led by Matthias, DD1US. Yeah, just to power. I actually switched the bias on the PA, John, but power supply bias, something like that. So that's all from me. I think another interesting net. Had a fair share of problems. My apologies for my audio. And I'll put it round to Gareth for one more view of the tripod. G4X80 in the net, G8GKQ closing the net, and frequency be clear after Gareth. Good night all.
Right, okay, just to prove it's me, G4XAT, for Noel's benefit. Here we are. I'll just wander across again. Okay, it is very rugged indeed. You can see it tilts up. You can change that thread for anything you like. It's a M6 times 1.0. So it's fairly precise, and there's negligible gearing. I mean, it's pliable, but you've got an overhang at this end, so you can attach things there with G-clamps, or indeed you can put your hand underneath to put a wing nut on, things like that. And hand wheel underneath that holds the whole shebang on, and bear with me while I remove that. That's an M12 bit of studding, courtesy of Screwfix. And then lurking on the bottom is a whacking great big bearing. So the outer ring of that, hang on, the outer ring, that's 0.5 millimetre above the brake disc. Okay, and then the inner bit is recessed anyway. So a slightly domed top, and it would still clamp on, no problem. Let me get it in front of the camera, and that's the gimbal mechanism. I suppose you'd call it a gimbal mechanism. And there's the overhang. There's some little wedges under the hinges. Not going to focus. So that you can go negative. Right, that'll do. Back to me. Yes, regarding switching your PA, don't switch the PA, switch the driver. I killed one of my power transistors doing that, as have others, I believe. Okay, I hope that's helpful, Noel. Fire up any questions or come back on the net or whatever. I'm here for a bit from G4XAT. 7 3s everybody, and see you next Thursday hopefully.